Battlefield 6 was an absolute blast. I mean, I think most of us are on the same page there. For a beta build, it definitely ranks as my absolute favorite beta of all time. But the honeymoon period is over. The game is not without its problems, and as a veteran of the franchise, I've seen some things that truly do concern me for the future of the game. So out of pure love for this franchise, today we're going to talk about the 5 things that I think could get in between this game and its true potential. So there have been some Battlefield Labs clips going viral on Twitter recently, featuring a group of snipers on top of the Firestorm Tower. But these guys aren't just snipers. No, in Battlefield 6, they're also raining down rockets onto enemy armor. Now, because it's Labs, I cannot show you guys the gameplay, but I can do one better. More or less, these boys had rocket launchers and snipers, and anytime these boys tried to walk anywhere near the tower, they would either get RPG'd or they would get sniped. This to me was the perfect illustration of the problems that open weapons presents to Battlefield. I mean, it's a bunch of super soldiers able to pick the best primary weapon and gadget for that specific job, all on their own. I mean, this topic has been done to death, and at this point, a lot of people are just bringing the feels over reals into the conversation, basically saying, it was better in BF3, it was better in BF4. But, you know, if you have some nuance, you'll know that Battlefield 4's class restrictions weren't actually that restrictive at all. Anyways, my stance is that forcing sacrifices into people's class selection is a huge part of Battlefield. I mean, if you're getting chopped up on the flags by infantry, you're probably going to need more medics. But if you pick those medics, the enemy vehicles will have an easier time. It's the same thing in vehicles. If the enemy devotes 10 players to locking onto my jet, then I can rest assured that those 10 players will be restricted to less powerful primary weapons, and they won't be harassing any tanks. That dynamic of forcing the enemy to off-class is really interesting, and it's a part of Battlefield that I don't want to lose. I thought the entire point was that we return to BF3 and 4 roots for this game, and to do that, closed weapons truly is the only way. I threw up a tweet the other day, which was pretty well received with how I'd have it. The backbone to it though is to make one-shot kill weapons readable by class, limit long-range damage output, and do not offer carbines to everyone, as that defeats closed weapons. With that in mind, Assault would get assault rifles and shotguns, Support would get LMGs, Engineer would get carbines, Recon would get snipers and DMRs, and everyone would get SMGs. That's just my opinion though, let me know what you think down below. Now though, we gotta talk about vehicles, because really the combined arms nature of Battlefield is its entire identity. My personal definition of combined arms is the combination of vehicles, infantry and gadgets, all interacting with a common objective to win the game. Battlefield 6 ticks the infantry box, and there are more than enough gadgets, I mean actually more on that later. Where Battlefield 6 is let down is the vehicles. I'm going to cut them a little bit of slack here because balancing vehicles is hard, and we got an unfinished version of this product where things like loadouts were entirely missing. But in short, physics were a common issue among all vehicles. In helicopter felt like you're flying a brick, the tank handling could have been made much sharper between starting, stopping and rotating, and the jets handled like there was a hidden G-force protection system being enabled. In Battlefield 2042, which shares the same engine as Battlefield 6, recently proved that Battlefield 4 physics can not only be replicated, but in my opinion, and the opinion of some very skilled players as well, they can be improved upon with the new A10 Warthog and Su-25 Frogfoot that they recently added. These new 2042 physics introduce a slightly stronger rudder and lower the skill requirement of speed control, just enough for it to be more accessible. As a Battlefield 4 jet veteran, I actually prefer these new physics, which sounds crazy to say. Now that DICE have actually proven their mettle here, I would really love to see them take the same route with the heli physics. I mean, I'm sure if they took Battlefield 4 heli physics, but with a little bit more linear yaw feel, just like 2042 has, it could be amazing and once again more accessible for the masses. As for the tanks, a simple engine power increase, top speed increase, and a buff to acceleration and deceleration would help a lot here. And then for the firepower, I mean, let's be honest, there was no shortage in Battlefield 6, but the way it was handled, well, that's where our issue lied. Attack helicopter ground attack should always be led by the pilot with rocket pods and tow missiles. In Battlefield 6 though, the gunner AGM was the main method of dealing with ground vehicles, and I mean, that's just backwards. Now, an attack jet should be lethal against ground vehicles, and with a skilled pilot, infantry and air vehicles as well. But in Battlefield 6, the attack jet would drop any air vehicle in under 300 milliseconds, and with constant resupplies, infantry bombing was frequent. But killing tanks required a precise combination of inputs, and again, that's just backwards. Tanks don't have much of an identity crisis here, but just generally feel a little bit funky. I think 2042's turret speed could be used as a great baseline here though. I mean, you guys know me, I could probably make this entire video about vehicles, but we do need to move on. If you did wish I made this entire video about vehicles though, I will link a Google Doc in the description. It's got 15 pages of vehicle feedback in there. Something just as important as the vehicles in Battlefield though are the gadgets. In class identity, for example, has always been more about the gadgets than the weapons. It's these gadgets that playstyles are usually formed around in the first place. Anyways, what I'm specifically concerned about is not the existence of gadgets, but rather the existence of too many gadgets, something that I tend to call gadget bloat. Anyways, as a Battlefield game ages, usually more and more gadgets are added to provide content. But in my opinion, too many gadgets can actually be a bad thing for readability and just general gameplay. I mean, what would you guys rather? Battlefield 3's simple but readable roster of gadgets, or Battlefield 2042, which is approaching Valorant levels of utility?
Blue wall. Raining smoke. Nami ult. Fucking, I don't know what that is. Fucking Nasus E all over the site. Incoming nukes. Nukes dropping down. Wall.
Gadgets can also become a huge problem when they're too strong and end up behaving more like primary weapons. In Battlefield 6, I saw this coming very close with the assault class and its grenade launchers. I mean, truly, those grenade launchers can take the place of a primary weapon sometimes, and especially that incendiary grenade launcher is probably the most unfun weapon in Battlefield 6 to come up against. Perhaps it's the purist in me speaking here, but I'm watching Battlefield 6's gadget roster with a very close eye, as this aspect of the game can have a huge impact on gameplay, and if it's taken too far, it'll be for the worse. Now, something that seems unavoidable in today's gaming space is a matchmaker. You know, I too prefer the days of a server browser, which would allow me to play the exact map and map rotation that I was after on any given day, any given time. DICE though have been pretty clear, and they are just going to make this a portal only thing. But at the same time, they've also been pretty receptive towards feedback on their matchmaking system. And for me, it comes down to just a few things. Firstly, I don't want any sort of SPMM or matchmaking algorithm in the game. Battlefield has just never had anything like this, and while it might tell EA that they're going to sell more microtransactions with it, SPMM fundamentally just doesn't belong in Battlefield. I mean, how do you even define the skill of a player in Battlefield anyways? I think I saw this clearer than ever when I played at the reveal event in LA. And at that event, everyone played games for a living. Not everyone was really cracked out, but the level was a fair bit higher than your average game of Battlefield. Thing is, when I was flying the jet, nobody was interested in doing the dirty work to take me out. Everyone was playing like heroes, nobody wants to pick up the stinger and lock me down for the most part. Battlefield is also a casual game, and I think we often forget that. I mean, shit, I'd probably gotta be reminded of that myself. I mean, just to play with friends in some games with SPMM or ranked mode, I'll sometimes just resort to playing on alt accounts, just to make sure that they don't get in my sweaty games and have their experience ruined. Battlefield should just be a game where you can hop in with your mates, get a pure unfiltered experience, and have a good time. That's how it always has been, and that's how it should be in the future. Finally, the Battlefield beta also exhibited a classic problem, and that is the time to kill, or TTK, time to death, or TTD, and the discrepancy between them. I mean, when it comes to Battlefield, this is a tale as old as time itself, but in an ideal world, they are perfectly synchronized, which gives you the best readability and overall feeling when you're both shooting, but also getting shot. Unfortunately, in Battlefield 6, there were quite a few cases where the time to death felt a lot faster than the time to kill. That is that magic bullet effect where you seemingly die instantly, but when you're shooting someone else, they're not dying quite that fast. DICE always gets to the bottom of these issues, at least in history they always have, but it should be a strong focus for development as it really does throw off the infantry gameplay. Anyways, that just about wraps it up. For me, it's open weapons, vehicle design, gadget bloat, matchmaking, and netcode issues which could be plaguing this game. But what are your top 5 concerns with Battlefield 6? Love to discuss this one further in the comments. Anyways, if you liked it, like the vid. If you disliked it, smash that dislike button. And for more Battlefield coverage, subscribe to the channel. Peace.